Welcome to the College Admissions Process Podcast presented by Prep Expert. Prep Expert offers live online SAT and ACT courses with the best score guarantees, instructors, and curriculum. Go to prepexpert.com to guarantee your child's success. Welcome to The Cap, where we are here to speak with college reps and other professionals in the field of college admissions to help answer all your questions and guide you through every step of the process. So if you're serious about college admissions, you've come to the right place. Are you ready? Let's talk about it. And now, here's your host, Dr. John Durante. Welcome to The Cap, the College Admissions Process Podcast. I am your host, John Durante, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you today Amber Caputo, who's the Assistant Director of Undergraduate Admissions at Iona University. Amber, thank you so much for being here today. How are you?
Thanks, John. I'm doing well. I'm really excited to be here with you today. Yeah.
Fantastic. We're equally as excited. So my first interview, Amber, with Iona was back in episode 13, which was released in March of 2022, a long time ago. Since then, what updates can you share with our listeners from Iona?
Yeah, John, absolutely. So since 2022, there has been so many amazing things that's been going on at Iona, typically referred to as a school on the rise. And I think all the amazing things that are happening at Iona can really attest to that. Starting off in July of 2022, we had a name change. We went from Iona College to Iona University. And of course, that came along with the prestige of the university, but also an offering of more academic programs. There has been just really great things in terms of like new academic offerings, some being artificial intelligence. We have that as a new minor, esports, a health and wellness program, sports business minor. We have new master's programs, for example, in nursing education and things of that nature. In terms of new facilities and upgrades, not sure if you heard, but we actually recently opened up a campus in Ireland. So Iona did go international. Really great opportunity for our students to study abroad, but more specifically, our nursing students to get that chance to study in another country and practice medicine elsewhere. So it's a really cool opportunity for that. Some other great things going on is that we're introducing the Gabelli Center for Teaching and Learning, essentially just a vibrant hub for institutional innovation and faculty development. Really great way to share resources and technical support. We're also going to be sponsoring seminars and speaker series and things of that nature. We did fully renovate our Murphy Green Space, which is just a way for students to engage on campus and to kind of get more of that community feel, something Iona really prides ourselves on. And we're also renovating our new dining halls on campus too. That's expected to be completed in this upcoming spring. So a lot of really great things going on here at Iona.
Well, there's definitely a lot of great things, and I love how you talk about Iona being a quote-unquote a school on the rise. Back in July of 2022, you went from Iona College to Iona University, which added so many programs such as AI, which of course everyone is talking about, esports, and so much more. You mentioned your new facilities and your campus in Ireland, just to name a few. Now, as a follow-up, you mentioned your nursing students having the opportunity to do their work abroad. So is the campus in Ireland strictly for the nursing students? I just want to get some clarity on that, please.
Yeah, so it's not just for nursing. It offers an opportunity for all of our students in terms of that studying abroad aspect, but we just wanted to provide that opportunity for nursing students because I'm sure you know nursing is a very demanding and rigorous major for students to participate in. So we just wanted to allow them to still get that same student experience despite their major. So just offering that extra opportunity for them.
That's fantastic. And so any student, whether it's nursing or anything else, they would go to Ireland for one semester, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Fantastic, fantastic. And I also know that Iona University is known for its close-knit community. Amber, how does Iona foster a sense of community both on and off your campus? And what opportunities are available for students to engage in service learning or community-based projects?
Absolutely. Great question. So, for the Wall Street Journal's 2024 Best Colleges in America, we were actually ranked #1 in New York State for the student experience. And I think that really ties in to the close-knit environment that we're able to offer our students here at Iona. At Iona, we have about 80 plus student clubs and organizations, right? And that's between academic clubs, club sports, performing arts. We're very big on community service, so we have tons of opportunities for our students in that area as well. In terms of community service, we do offer a community service scholarship that allows students to continue that passion of theirs while they're a student here at Iona. That is a $1,000 scholarship for freshman year. And it's a great way to, one, get students involved on campus, but two, also to help with that transition period that could definitely be very challenging for our students from, going from a high school senior to a freshman in college. In terms of our sizing, I like to say we are a small to mid-sized school. We have about 4,000 students. So I always like to say, especially being an alum of Iona myself, the size of our campus allows you to not be a stranger on campus. It's always great to see a familiar face and also recognize your peers and even the professors who are very active on campus. Really aids in that close knit environment. I remember being a freshman myself, and you could tell I was a freshman the first day. I was very lost, and I had so many people who I didn't know come up to me to ask, "Hey, can I take you to this building? Can I get you to class?" And I think that just really speaks about the community that we do offer here at Iona.
Well, it's definitely a great community. I know a lot of students that are there currently and who have been
Mhm.
there in the past. And of course, nothing but great things to say when I end up seeing them years later. Now, you mentioned that $1,000 scholarship as part of your community service. So I'm assuming it's an opportunity for students to get involved with community service, which will, of course, help them transition to Iona because they're working with other students while earning $1,000. So, could you just elaborate a little bit more on that? Because a lot of students and parents, specifically the parents, they'll reach out to me because they want me to ask about things that colleges or universities do to help with that transition to your university and also what schools do to help foster that sense of community. So, could you just elaborate on exactly what is that $1,000 scholarship?
Absolutely. So typically, our prospective seniors in high school, when they apply to Iona, we get to see all of their involvements, right? And a lot of times we do see community service and volunteer work in one form of another. So that's a great opportunity for us to engage with that student and maybe make a connection to, what's going on here on campus. A really big part of that is our community service aspect. So we do have a link where students can complete a form and apply for the community service scholarship. And if awarded, that entices them to complete a certain amount of hours here during their freshman year. There are so many different opportunities that they could do. One of my favorites is the midnight run that we do.
Hmm.
When I was a student, I thought I was signing up to go jog in the middle of the city, but
That's what it
actually,
sounds
it's
like.
right. Actually, it's a 5-hour opportunity where we get to go into the city and give food and necessities to the homeless. So it was a really great
Wow.
example of one offering of service that we do. So, of course, this is a good way to allow the students to continue their passion, but also a great way to meet other students who share similar interests. And I know I mentioned that this scholarship is for freshman year, but our community service opportunities extend well beyond freshman year. We have the Office of Mission and Ministry here at Iona, they are such a good department that connects our students with other service opportunities. We even have mission and ministry trips where students can go to different places to basically serve others. When I was a student at Iona, I went to Ireland and I worked with those suffering with drug and alcohol addiction, those in poverty, and those in prison, just to give you an example of a type of trip that a student can participate in. So it's a really great way for them to continue that passion, but also engage with the rest of the community too.
While also earning, the $1,000, which always helps, right, with
Exactly.
tuition and fees. And, I
Absolutely.
asked that question and I'm glad I did because hopefully it prompts students and parents to come up with their own questions about just that. What is it that the school does to help transition students to build, again, that wonderful community? Now, you mentioned a lot of your popular academic programs already, but what are some other popular academic programs? And Amber, can you share any unique experiential learning or internship opportunities tied to these programs that help students prepare for life after graduation?
Definitely. So at Iona, we have about 65 plus academic programs between three different schools. So we have our School of Arts and Sciences, we have the La Penza School of Business, and we have our newer New York Presbyterian Iona School of Health Sciences. Some of our popular majors, I definitely will say, would be anything within the business fields. Nursing and the health science area is definitely very popular, education as well, but we also have tons of accredited programs ranging from media and communications, computer science, criminal justice, psychology, just to name a few. In terms of internships, that's very big, a very big topic that I get from my students that I'm working with currently. Out of our 2023 graduates, 93% of our students were employed or enrolled in graduate school within 6 months to a year after graduation. And I think that really has something to do with our Career Development Center that we do have here at Iona. As early as your freshman year, our Career Development Center is working with students to build a resume. Let's do a mock interview. We do career fairs where we have about 100 plus employers where our students, we tell them, dress professionally, bring a copy of your resume, and let's get to networking, right? So I think that has such an awesome play in terms of how our students are interning and securing jobs. In terms of new career preparation, Iona actually has some new partnerships when it comes to interning here at Iona. One of them being we have a new Secret Service partnership. So really great for students interested in the criminal justice area. We actually had the Secret Service on campus this past spring. So it was a really great way for our students to connect in person and on campus with such a notable department. We also have the Gales Go Further mentorship program. And this program essentially pairs a current student at Iona with an Iona alum within the field of their choice. And that's really great for the student just to make that personal connection to see what advice can be offered to them during their current state, right? And kind of see, hey, like, how did you get to where I might want to be in the future? So it's a really great way to keep that open connection with our alumni pool and our current students. I always say, if a school has a really strong alumni networking system, I think it says a lot about the school in itself. We have about 50,000 plus alumni worldwide, and they're always coming back to connect with our students and things of that nature. Also, we have a new executive in residence, Bruce Beck, NBC4's leading sports anchor. He essentially is a great way to connect with our students interested in the media and strategic communications area. Really great mentorship that he can provide to our students as well. So again, just enhancing those internships and even those connections that Iona can offer to the students too.
Well, that's awesome. And I've actually met Bruce Beck a couple of times, and he is fantastic. So I didn't know the connection with Iona. So I appreciate you sharing that. And I love the personal connections with an Iona alum that you give to your current students who are already in the fields that students are studying to enter. And of course, you mentioned your three different schools in the arts and sciences, business, and of course, your health sciences. And I love your partnerships. And that's cool. Secret Service was on your campus. That's very unique. So you have so many things to offer inside your classroom and beyond, on your campus and beyond. But cost obviously is something that's very important to families, Amber, as we know. So with the rising cost of education being a concern for so many families, how is Iona University working to make education more accessible and affordable?
Absolutely. With working with my students, I do feel that their number one concern is definitely cost, right? It's not cheap to go to college nowadays, and especially that Iona is a private school, cost is definitely something that our students need to take into consideration. However, we definitely do our best to ensure that our students are aware of all the different types of scholarship opportunities that a private school can offer, so we could make our university as affordable as possible, right? We kind of have to, because if not, no one would be able to afford the institution. One form of scholarships that we do offer would definitely be merit-based scholarships. Merit scholarships is essentially based on the academic performance that the student is displaying throughout their high school career. Over time, as the cost of tuition has increased, so has the amount of merit scholarship that we are able to offer, which is great. We also offer school scholarships, right? So a lot of these school scholarships are tailored to certain interests that a student may display. I know we mentioned before we have a community service scholarship. We also offer a scholarship for performing arts. We do also offer a scholarship for the honors program, for students interested in the STEM fields, and so forth. And then lastly, we do offer financial aid when the students complete the FAFSA. I think one of our biggest priorities is just making sure students understand the different forms of scholarships and aid that they may be eligible for. Because when I was a student, to be quite honest, I didn't know every opportunity, and different schools may offer different opportunities for scholarships and aid. So it's great that we can coach our students in this area. We also offer an appeal forum where students have the chance to work directly with our financial aid office in terms of requesting a reevaluation for aid. I always tell students the FAFSA can only tell us certain numbers, right? But in life, so many different things happen that the FAFSA is not able to show us. So it's just a nice way to keep that communication open and to see how we can ultimately best help our students and see what we can do as an institution to best meet the family's needs.
Well, I appreciate that. And you're definitely there to meet the family's needs and the best interest of the students, which leads me to my next question. And I have to say, your CAP program, which is the Comprehensive Assistance Program, is one of the best for students that need some extra supports. So, again, I know that Iona's academic and personal support services are one of the top in the country. Your services are there to help all students, regardless of their learning needs, achieve their full potential and navigate challenges during their college experience. So, Amber, what can you tell us about these great programs that Iona offers?
Absolutely. I think one of the best things Iona offers is the support that we offer our students. I always say at some point, whether it's emotionally, academically, mentally, physically, at some point, everyone may need a little bit of extra help. And it's great that Iona can provide that for our students. One of our most popular support services that we offer is the Comprehensive Assistance Program, as you mentioned, also known as the CAP program. This program falls under our General Accessibility Services Office. The CAP program is a fee based, application based, and optional program for students who are looking for that more comprehensive support while in school. This program targets students who might have an IEP, a 504, are diagnosed with learning disabilities on the autism spectrum, ADHD, or have traumatic brain injuries as well. This program allows our students to meet with learning specialists at least twice a week, and they work on a variety of different types of skills that the student might need to excel in the classroom and outside as well. The CAP program also comes with a transition summer program where the students are the first people to get to campus prior to the year that they're either coming to campus for the first time or returning to kind of get their feet wet and not be overwhelmed by everything going on campus to kind of help with that transition as well. In addition to the CAP program, we also have our General Accessibility Services Office that also offers those same types of accommodations that a student in the CAP program might receive. However, it's just not as hands-on, right? If you just need extra accommodations, if you need a different location to take an exam, or if you just need extended time on a test, our General Accessibility Services Office can still provide those types of accommodations for our students. In addition to maybe just general accommodations, we also have a mental health counseling center on campus. We also have a support group for first generation students called the TRIO program. We have the wellness center on campus. So whatever type of support a student may need, we have great people here at Iona to make sure they're taken care of and ultimately that their needs are met too, whether that's inside of the classroom or outside.
Hey, podcast friends, if you've been enjoying the College Admissions Process podcast, I'm excited to share my new book, Straight from the Admissions Office, Insider Strategies for College Applications. It's packed with insights and tips from over 250 podcast episodes with admissions professionals designed to make the college process less overwhelming. Whether you're a student, parent, or college counselor, it's a valuable resource for navigating the admissions process. By grabbing a copy, you're also helping to support the podcast. The links are in the show notes. Thank you, and best wishes to all with the college admissions process. Well, that's terrific. And, I'm glad I asked the question, and I already knew. I always talk about your CAP program, by the way, but I appreciate you mentioning so many other support services and opportunities for students. You may know, Amber, that I always put the Office of Undergraduate Admissions in the show notes. If there are any other links, the CAP program or any other support services links, just please send them to me, and of course, we'll make them available to the students and their families. So let's talk a little bit about the application itself, Amber. Can you explain your holistic review process and what specific experiences the admissions team looks for when reviewing those applications?
Definitely. So at Iona, I genuinely can say that we do take a holistic approach when reviewing an application. And what that means is that we're not making our decision based off one factor and one factor only, right? There are so many different aspects that go into a student applying to a school. Different components include the high school transcript, letters of recommendation, the personal essay, the activities a student is involved in. So there are a bunch of different factors that go into how we're making our admissions decision. I'll start off with the transcript. The high school transcript essentially will show us how a student is performing inside of the classroom. The transcript provides the general GPA. It also provides us with the amount of courses a student is taking, what kind of course rigor a student is engaging in throughout their high school experience. We are also able to see what kind of trends a student is showing throughout their academic experience. So the transcript is really helpful in terms of judging a student in terms of the classroom, right? We also look at the activities resume or the activities section on the Common App. This is a great way to see what a student is doing with their time beyond academics, right? It's a great way to see how the student is managing their time. We can also see through the activities resume different leadership qualities, dedication, and commitment. These are all qualities that an admissions counselor is looking in a candidate when admitting them into the university. In addition, we also read the essay or the personal statement. This is a great way for the student to talk directly to the admissions counselors. I think the personal essay is one of my favorite aspects of the college application because I get to learn and hear from my student directly. The college essay is also a great way for the student to advocate for themselves if needed as well. And lastly, we also look at letters of recommendation, right? A letter of recommendation can come from a guidance counselor, it can come from a professor, an employer, a mentor, anyone who can really speak on behalf of the student. This is a great way to hear about the student through the eyes of someone who really knows them, right? As admissions counselors, as much as we would love to really get to know all of our students, due to the high demand of applicants and interested students, it's not possible to do that. And we definitely always do our best, but it's really great to get some insight to the student beyond just what we might have encountered or not have encountered yet. So there are really a lot of different factors when granting an admissions decision. At the end of the day, we're looking to admit people into the university, right? Meaning that we're just not going off of grades. Of course, you want to show that you're academically capable, right? Because we want to make sure you're set up for success when getting admitted into the school. But we want to see how you're going to be able to contribute to our community. What are you going to do while here on campus? What are you going to bring to Iona? That's essentially what we're looking for. We are also test optional, so we do not require test scores. So that's not something we consider as highly, compared to the transcript, letters of recommendation, so on and so forth. But we do take into consideration all of those factors as mentioned.
Well, I appreciate that overview, and you really broke it down beautifully. You talked about the transcript, how you're looking at the GPA, the courses, the rigor, the trends over 4 years, but you also talked about those letters of recommendation, the personal essay, which is your favorite. And I'm sure if I was on the admissions side, that would be one of my favorites as well, just to get to know the students better. And of course, that activity sheet. I was curious in terms of the personal statement, Amber, what are some common pitfalls students should avoid when writing those personal statements? And can you share examples of how a unique personal story really elevated an application?
Absolutely. I find while working with my students, a lot of them are under the impression that they have to write about something sad or something traumatic or something that affected them in a negative way. And although that's amazing, I always say that's not the only thing that you have to write about, right? As admissions counselors, we enjoy being happy too, right? So we enjoy reading a different side to the essay, right? We read a lot of essays. Throughout my time as an admissions counselor, I have easily read over thousands of applications, including essays, right? And my biggest advice is that you want to try to stand out in the best way possible. A lot of students write about sports or about getting injured or tearing your ACL, right? And as an admissions counselor, I could read the first sentence of an essay and ultimately I know what that essay is going to be about, right? I would say definitely make the essay about you. A lot of students tend to shy away from that, right? Because sometimes it could be uncomfortable writing about yourself, right? The essay is a time to brag about yourself. It's a time to put yourself in a light that you really want us to see you in. So, my best advice would definitely be to keep the essay centered around you. You want to write about mom and dad or grandma and grandpa. That's wonderful. And from a lot of essays I've read, I would admit they're moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas because they're just wonderful, right? But at the end of the day, you are our main concern. We want the essay to be about you. And also, if you have a personality, if you enjoy writing, don't be scared to make that shine in your essay, right? Out of all the essays I've read, one that sticks out to me the most is about one of my students who wrote about chicken fingers. And you might be thinking, really? And the reason I say this is because he was worried about making the wrong college decision. Then he mentioned that no matter what school he ends up at, they're going to have chicken fingers. And I was like, you know what? He's right. He's right. But he
That's clever.
tried, right? But he wrote the essay so beautifully, and it connected so many dots between what he's looking for, his future, to himself, to what he's looking for, what he's going to contribute to the university. And he tied that all around chicken tenders and appetizer. So, just to give you an example, it doesn't always have to be super serious. It doesn't always have to be upsetting or sad. At the end of the day, we just want to hear from you. Make sure it's in your own voice. Make sure it's grammatically correct, right? And just make sure it's true to yourself.
Well, that's great insight and great advice. And I appreciate that you talked about two types of essays where on the podcast episodes, admissions reps have said that they're definitely the topics that are most written about. Number one, those sports injuries. And number two, talking about a relative, specifically a grandparent, which is very common. And what happens a lot of times is that the student will write about the relative, for example, for 80% of it or 90% of it, and then mention maybe a little something about themselves. And that's a missed opportunity because, to your point, you want to admit grandma, but you really haven't learned that much new about the student. So again, it doesn't really help students in terms of understanding the different pieces of the overall application and how each has to build on the next. It's great that you love a parent, a grandparent, but the essay, 90% of it at least has to be all about you. I also love the fact that you talked about that essay where the topic was chicken fingers, right? Because it goes to the point that it's not necessarily about the topic, but it's how you use the topic to show a little bit of your personality, your thought process, how you reflect, and in the case of the student that you mentioned, how he or she was going to contribute to Iona University if he or she was accepted. So I think that's a great overview and we appreciate it. And I was also curious, Amber, how important is it for applicants to engage with the college through campus visits, virtual events, or other outreach? And does this have any impact on their chances of admission? In other words, does Iona University consider demonstrated interest in its admissions process? And if so, how is it tracked or even evaluated?
Absolutely. Great question. So, demonstrated interest is actually what we will also consider when reviewing the application holistically, as previously mentioned. I think demonstrated interest for Iona specifically is definitely very important. Now, it might not be the case for all schools, right? Some schools actually don't track demonstrated interest, but I always say whether a school does or doesn't, expressing your interest is not going to hurt you in your process, right? There are tons of ways that you can express demonstrated interest. A very common one could be a visit to campus, right? However, you might be interested in a school that is across the country, right, from where you're at. So visiting campus might not always be feasible. Demonstrated interest can also be expressed through a virtual visit, a virtual open house, a virtual interview, if you will. Something as similar as emailing your admissions counselors, introducing yourself, saying, "Hi, I'm X, Y, and Z from this high school, really interested in your school." That can go such a long way for you throughout your process. That's you expressing your interest, right? Students also have the opportunity to set up an interview, right? That's showing your interest in the school, coming for a tour, or any type of other yielding events that a school might offer. With demonstrated interest, a school is able to essentially have an idea of how interested the student is in our schools, right? At the end of the day, we want to take a chance on our students, right? But ultimately, we also have to ask ourselves, are the students taking chances on our university as well? I think it's such a great way. And for my students and students in general, it is so important for you to get to campus, see that culture in person, see what the school actually has to offer, and what a day-to-day looks like at the university. Can you picture yourself there? So although demonstrated interest is really important for some schools who do track that, it's really so important for the students too, because it's a way to learn more information. It's a way to get your questions answered. It's a way to ultimately decide, can you picture yourself as a student at this university for the next 4 years, right? This is such a large investment. if I have a student, right, who is kind of on the cusp or who is on par with another student of mine, right, and one student has not visited and has not contacted me, has not picked up a phone call, has not opened any emails, compared to a student that maybe I had a conversation on the phone with, or came to a campus visit, or saw me at the high school visit, right? It demonstrated interest doesn't always have to be you coming to us. It could be meeting me at a college fair or at a high school visit. We probably will go with the student who's expressing that interest. Demonstrated interest can also help a student if you are on that cusp of acceptance to really push you over that ledge because ultimately, again, you're just expressing that interest within the school.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you're talking about how Iona does track it and perhaps will use it if a student shows a lot of interest. But to your point, whether a college or university demonstrates interest, it will help you students regardless. And I say that because you have to remember colleges, when they receive your applications, they're going to be evaluating you, right? And you might get accepted, hopefully, maybe not. But the point is that if you do all of the things under the umbrella of demonstrating your interest, visiting campus, the virtual events, contact your admissions rep, meet them at a college fair or at your high school. If you do all of those things, that's going to help you determine whether or not that particular school is in fact the right fit for you or not, right? So you should do those things regardless to help you in your overall process. So, Amber, this has been an awesome conversation. Before I get to the last question, I just have to ask because the whole point of the podcast episodes is for me to pretend that I'm a parent at a college fair where it's just you and me, and there's not someone behind me trying to get in front of me. And we put out these episodes so people could listen to them on demand and really digest all of the information. So I want to make sure that I covered everything that I possibly can for students and their families. So, are there any questions that I didn't ask or a topic that I simply didn't bring up that you'd like to share with us now?
Definitely. I think while going throughout this process, it's really important for the student to advocate for themselves, right? And I say this because it's really important that we build connections with everyone involved in this process, right? Applying to college is a family effort. At the end of the day, being able to talk and connect with our students directly is such a great way to really understand their needs and to understand how we can help you throughout your process, right? As admissions counselors, a lot of the times we're often seen as sales representatives, right? And I want the student at my school and I'm going to tell you whatever I need to say to get you here. And I don't believe that's true, right? At the end of the day, my sole responsibility and my main priority is to make sure that my students end up where they're supposed to end up. And if that's not at Iona, my job is still well done, right?
Right.
So don't be afraid to talk to your admissions counselors. Don't be afraid to tell them your concerns and tell them what you need from them in order to get you, past that finish line. Be an advocate for yourself. Speak up when you need to. Know what you're really looking for throughout this process. And I just think self advocacy within this process could definitely make a really big difference.
Well, I think that's great advice. I really appreciate it. And I'm happy that I asked that question. And of course, this has been an awesome conversation, but unfortunately, it does bring us to that last question, which always is what are your top three pieces of advice that you would provide students and their families getting ready for the college admissions process?
Absolutely. It's funny, I actually just participated in a panel last night and I had a
Hmm.
family come up to me, and the first thing they asked is, where do I start? Right? And thinking back to when I was a junior, when it really came down to where do I start, my best piece of advice for families, for current juniors, seniors, wherever you are at in this process, really take some time to think about your non negotiables, right? And what I mean by that is what are you looking for in a school that you're not willing to give up, right? Is it an academic program? Is it location, right? Do you want to stay close to home, or do you know for sure you want to go down to Florida where the weather's much nicer during January, right? Is it the food? Is it the culture? Is it service? Really sit down and think, what do you want from your academic and college experience? And that's going to eliminate such a great amount of schools where you could start narrowing down a little bit as well. My second piece of advice is definitely get to know your admissions counselor, right? In our title, admission, we like to admit students, right? The more that we get to know you, the more we could aid you throughout the process. When I was a student, I had no idea what an admissions counselor was. I had no idea this was a field, and I had no idea it was a profession. And if I could go back and do one thing differently, it would definitely be to use my admissions counselor because the amount of resources that we could provide, the insight that we could give, like we're here on your side and we want to get you admitted. So use us and allow us to help you. And my last piece of advice would definitely be just to have fun with the process, right? Know it's scary. I know it's intimidating. And I know a lot of students and families might dread it because it's daunting at times. But you only really apply to college once, right? As a high school senior. So enjoy those college tours, enjoy those weekends where you're traveling with your families, enjoy the conversations and the knowledge, and enjoy the opportunities that are being offered to you. College is such a privilege and it makes such a great difference in your future. So definitely just have fun with the process and enjoy it.
Well, that was awesome. You're terrific. Iona is obviously so lucky to have you, as were we, on this podcast episode. I'm going to ask you to come back again in the future, Amber. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Don. It's a pleasure.
The pleasure was ours. And to everyone out there, good luck with the college search. Take care all, and best wishes. Thank you for joining us on this episode of The CAP, the College Admissions Process Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please don't forget to tell a friend and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. I am your host, John Durante, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of The CAP. Thank you for listening to the College Admissions Process Podcast presented by Prep Expert. Prep Expert offers live online SAT and ACT courses with the best score guarantees, instructors, and curriculum. Go to prepexpert.com to guarantee your child's success.